Hello everybody, good afternoon. It's nearly 2:30, so we'll be getting underway in a minute or so's time. Welcome everybody, hope you're all having a good day and I hope you're all keeping safe. Lizzie and Sunny, are you there?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hello Lizzie, hello Sunny, how are you both?
Hello.
Yeah, good, thank
Very
you.
good, thanks, Warren. How are you?
Yeah, great, thank you. Great to have you both on our webinar. So I'll hand over to Lizzie and Sunny in a moment, but I just thought I'd give you everybody on the webinar a quick welcome, just to say hello, thank you for joining us. We are fortunate to have Sunny and Lizzie from Sunnybird PR with us on this webinar today. I will be handing over to them. They're going to be talking about everything with regard to the power of digital ambassadors, and in particular, making yourself and your team your digital ambassadors. So I'm fascinated myself to hear what you have to say, ladies. But before we just do that, and before I hand over, I just thought I should just give you an insight, everybody. I know a lot of you know about Evolve, but for those that you don't, Evolve is a membership community of like-minded business leaders, business owners and entrepreneurs coming together to share ideas, thoughts and learn from each other, as well as us providing some core services for you. So those services are listed. Clearly one of those being where people can share with a like-minded group of individuals is our peer groups, which meet on a monthly basis, have a topic, a theme for every discussion, but also people talk about the good, the bad and the mad about what's going on in their world and have been going on in their world over the course of the last month. I hope that many of you have already found the Evolve to Succeed podcast. If you haven't, go onto Apple, Spotify, Google the Evolve to Succeed podcast, you'll find it. And then we obviously host events, well, we can do in the real world when they can happen. But at the moment it's webinars, and hence why we're here today. That is complemented with our coaching, the inspirational content and articles, soon to be launched new app where you can get all of the articles and content on your phone. And then finally, launched this week, first occupants took their seats in the new co-working space down in Ashley Cross in Poole. So if you are local to us in Poole and Bournemouth and you are interested, Amy at Evolve would love to speak to you. We are running an open day next week, but feel free at any time to give Amy a call. She'd love to show you around the space. So I think that's it for me. So without further ado, you've heard enough from me. You're not here to hear from me. You're here to hear from Sunny and Lizzie. So I'm going to hand over to them. All I would suggest is that there is a Q&A function within Zoom and a chat function, but if you could post perhaps as Sunny and Lizzie are progressing through their presentation, which I understand to be based on a case study and really practical. So I'm sure you'll have some thoughts, ideas, questions for them. If you post them within that section, then when you finish, Lizzie, Sunny, I'll come back on screen.
Yeah, great.
And I'll host the Q&A for you. So without further ado, over to you. Technology will hopefully work where you can take control of the screen.
Thank you very much, Warren.
Thank you, Warren.
I'm in the driving seat now, I believe. There we go.
So for those of you that don't know us, we are Sunnybird PR, but we also not only do PR, but we also do social media and events. And we also have a sub-brand called Reaching Millions, where we teach people how to do their PR and social media. And today's really focusing on social media and digital and how to make your team and yourselves your digital ambassadors. We'll go through what the run of this presentation is going to be.
Okay, so we're going to look at all things social, obviously. With being a digital ambassador, it's obviously a huge amount of space now is in social media. So that is what we're going to focus on today. So looking at the main channels, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter, and talking about how you can use them to your best advantage and how to utilize yourself and your staff to your best advantage, which I think a lot of people don't realize the power that you do have.
So what does a digital ambassador do? So they represent and act for your company, and especially online. And you can do this via blogging, creating content for use on social media, engaging with your social audience, which is key, which we'll come on to. And who can do it? Well, it's you, your staff and other ambassadors. So it could be your clients, for instance.
Or big fans or influencers or anyone that just thinks that you're great. that has a voice on social media or, you know, online anywhere. This is our little mantra here at Sunny Bird PR. We are always saying this. Don't focus on how to do social, focus on how to be social. It's a really big, distinct difference. And the reason it's so important is a lot of people we've spoken to, and we used to be guilty of it back in the day, is leave social media to the last minute and go, oh my God, I haven't put anything on Facebook today, I haven't put anything on Instagram today, quick, let's put something up before it's too late. And actually, you're just ticking a box. The whole point of social media, the clue is in the title, it's meant to be a social space where you naturally, organically and authentically engage with other people. So yeah, this is definitely our mantra. Don't just do it just because you have to. Actually make an effort to be social on there, and engage with people. The core thing you should be doing on social media is actually engaging, not posting. It should be about 80% engagement versus the 20% you are posting, just to give you an idea of a breakdown there. But yes, be social, not do social.
So 45 million social media users are in the UK, and 67% are our population. 39 million of these are on their mobile. So you have their attention all the time, because most people have their phones in their hands all the time. So it's really important that your social really works through mobiles.
Okay, so did you, or we wanted it to be interactive, but we didn't realise how popular we were going to be. So thank you everyone that's joined us. I understand there's about 30 of us on the course today. So we were going to ask everyone, but I don't think we've got time. So I don't know if it's possible to maybe see if anyone would like to volunteer. If we stop screen sharing, now I'm not sure if I can because I'm controlling Warren's screen. I didn't.
You can control Warren's screen.
Yeah. Can I do it?
So we've had a look at the businesses that have signed up to listen to this today. So we have a good understanding, and there's quite a few different businesses, quite a few different sizes, with different levels of how many staff you have and different levels of business. But every single thing that we're going to say today will relate to your business in some way or another. Just because you might be a small business, it doesn't mean that you can't do these things. And just because you're a big business and you might have your own social team, your own digital team, it doesn't mean that actually you can't do what we're about to say.
Yeah, and that's what the interactive section was going to kind of show, really, and also do some immediate troubleshooting on social media platforms. We often find people are asking things like, oh, should I be a company page or a personal page on LinkedIn, or questions like that. But what we can do is we'll do that at the end instead with Warren. So we'll save this bit for the end, basically. Okay. Sorry. Oh.
Right, so at Sunny Bird PR, we make sure that every single one of our team is a digital ambassador, and we change it around. So for instance, we see here, this is Grace, by the way. Grace at the moment is our ambassador on LinkedIn. Sorry. On Instagram. Josh is our ambassador on Twitter. Then we have the lovely Laura, who's the ambassador on LinkedIn, and then we have Annabelle, who's the ambassador on Facebook. Now we change this generally every 2 to 3 months because they need to be experts in all things social here. But then this is something you can also do within your organization. So you can dedicate a social media platform to one of your staff, and they're in charge of that for a quarter, and then you can swap it over. So the next quarter they might be in charge of Facebook, and what it tends to happen is they tend to get tips from each other, so it works really, really well, and they should all have a basic understanding of all the platforms. So this is a great way to do this. But currently these are the 4 ambassadors we have, and every January we do this competition at Sunny Bird PR where we give them the task of increasing their social media platforms by 100%. And that's 100% reach, 100% more likes, 100% more engagement. And the person who gets the most engagement across all, most engagement, most reach, most likes across their tasks wins a holiday. And this has been really successful. And it shows actually some really simple steps, which we're going to go through at the end of the presentation, of what you guys can do to actually increase your social media platforms by 100%.
And if you don't have a team of 4 around you, don't panic. You can do, let's just say you make Instagram your priority for 1 month, so that you always got someone, or you've always having a focus, so you're researching the algorithms and really focusing on getting that platform up to, you know, the best it can be. The point is taking ownership and taking responsibility, and not just letting the social media happen. It's actually having a strategy, having a plan, having goals to reach, and KPIs to hit, so that you're actually accountable and you actually do achieve something and you're making social media work for you?
We actually say to our clients, there's no point in you spreading yourself really thin and trying to be amazing on all 4 channels. Choose 1 or 2 that work really well for you and do them really well. And there's no point in doing 4 channels really badly. You're much better off actually focusing on 1 channel, understanding how the algorithm works, understanding what that channel prefers you to do, and work on that.
Okay, so we've just outlined here some of the basic digital ambassador duties. So this would be, say, if it's yourself doing it or one of your team doing it, these are the kind of things we've asked our team to do. So starting off with the very basics, creating a social media strategy. So you actually know what you're doing, when you're posting it, what you're posting, why you're posting it. So with objectives and measurables. So what are you going to achieve? How many people are you going to follow that week? How many people are you going to unfollow that week? Are you going to increase your engagement by 25%, etc.? Creating social media brand guidelines. These are just as important as any, your normal brand guidelines, so that you've got a very clear vision of the colors you use, of the language you use, of the tone of voice, so that when people land on your social media, it's like they've walked into your shop. So they need to get an instant feeling of who you are as a brand, and that comes through in every element, through your imagery, through your post content, through the type of copy you use, type of language you use. So having social media brand guidelines just puts all of that on paper. So say, for example, you have someone new start your team, or you want to outsource what you're doing, you've got something to hand over to someone else as well, so that brand is never going to be diluted or got messy when it's given over and your baby's fledged and flown the nest. So it's important to have those written down. And it also helps you align what you're doing as well. Am I this person, or do I speak like that, or am I authoritative, or am I chatty? And it might be you have different guidelines for different platforms. We certainly do, which we'll go into later. The other thing your digital ambassador needs to do, and we've touched on this already, is keeping abreast of algorithm changes. If you're not sure what algorithms are, it's basically how Facebook decides on which order to present your newsfeed to you in.
Yeah.
So whatever's top, second, third, etc. And it's based on what you like as a user. And so to get your post as a poster to the top of someone else's newsfeed, you just need to research the algorithm changes. So for example, Facebook might 1 month say, oh, I prefer 30-second videos now. So if you put up a video that's 30 seconds long, it's going to have a greater chance of going to the top of someone's newsfeed than if it was 60 seconds long.
And these things you've got to test, because the algorithms change so often, and people often say to us, well, how do I find out about these changes? It's really simple. You just Google them and look at the dates. They change so quickly. Just keep abreast of them. Once a month, Google algorithm changes for Facebook, algorithm changes for Instagram, algorithm changes for LinkedIn. You do have to keep on top of these, but it's really worthwhile, and you'll see dramatic changes of what you're doing. The other thing your digital ambassadors should do is create quality content. That's their job, in line with your brand guidelines and algorithm research. But don't worry, by the way, we're at the end of this presentation, at the end of this today, we're going to send you over examples of social media strategies so you can see, so you can do this yourself. And we're also going to send you over some social media brand guidelines so you can put your own in place, so you can see an examples. But again, these are all things that you can Google to get examples for yourself, but we will send you some.
Your digital ambassadors should be scheduling content. This is just so it doesn't get to 5 o'clock at the end of the day and you go, oh my God, what am I posting? So you should have a calendar. You should have an idea of what you're posting and when, but also scheduling in advance. So, if something comes up and you're at the office or you've got no signal on your phone or whatever, you're not going to miss a day or whatever you've decided or when to post. It's not going to not happen. And it also means that you have a basis there. And there's lots of different guidelines and lots of different thoughts about how often you should post on which channel. But let's just say it's Facebook, for example, and you've decided to post 3 times a week. Then you've got your 3 posts laid out already. You don't have to think about it again. You can dedicate one afternoon to creating a post for your Facebook page the next week. And then anything obviously that comes along in the meantime that's topical or current or pertinent to you and your brand, you can put up as well as your existing posts. So it's not a problem to do them as well.
And the reason it's so important to schedule, because we'll come on to analytics in a minute, there'll be certain times that your followers, your consumers are following you, and you can see this via your analytics. And it's much better to post at these times, because how social media works, it's so fast that a post can suddenly get very lost, like on LinkedIn, on Twitter. So you need to know what time people are really are on your channel. So that's why it's really important to schedule, because if you just miss that by an hour or so, you know, that content might not be worth you doing at all. And then we'll go back to like the last one, is engage. Like, it's so important to engage. And we often get asked in our courses, well, what do you mean engage? How do I engage? And we don't mean, you know, just liking someone's post or liking their comment. We mean actually engaging with your audience, going onto their pages, asking them what they're doing, engaging in their content that way. You really do have to get under the skin of your followers, your consumers, your clients, and understand what, you know, what makes them tick. And by engaging with them, they're going to build a relationship with you, more likely to then converse with you and to buy your services.
And on the point of engagement, I think it's really, really important to be authentic. If you sound like a robot, like a company, like a faceless thing, people aren't going to relate to you. I know it's the oldest saying in the book, but people really do buy people. And I think a little bit of personality goes a really long way. I know that I do this when I'm on social media and I'm talking as Sunnybird PR. I imagine that I've met someone at a party and I'm doing small talk, you know. So you're still like yourself, you know, you might put in a bit of humor or whatever it is, however you are usually, but that has to be in line with your brand. So we're obviously quite a, you know, we're a PR agency. We're everything that sort of suggested. It's stereotypes. We drink Prosecco at 12:30 on a Friday. We're very giggly and girly and flamboyant. So our tone of voice is like that on social media. It very much runs through. So if you're a solicitor or an accountant, your language online would be very different. You still should have some personality, but obviously you've got to be really careful in those kind of industries that you don't alienate people with, you know, frivolity.
We're really focused on targets. So we're very target driven, we're very KPI driven. So in all our content, we hope that comes across. So in our language that we use, we'll talk about the results that we've achieved. And so that's something again you've got to think of when it comes to your ambassador's duties. Do they understand your business? Do they understand the messages you're trying to get across, you're trying to portray? That's really important.
And analytics. So this is it's just crucial. If you're not doing your analytics and you don't know if your post is successful, you might as well just not bother doing it. I know it sounds a bit brutal, but it's true. We deliver our analytics for Sunnybird PR social media on a monthly basis. We have a meeting and we look at the figures and we talk about it, we discuss it, we understand, you know, why it's gone up, why it's gone down, you know, and also make a plan for the next month moving forward. You can't make your social media better unless you know where it's failing or where it's succeeding, and you need to build on those or change those to make sure it does.
And it makes your job so much easier if you do it, because then you can base posts for the previous week on ones that have worked the previous month. Is it a call to action? Is it asking your clients a question? Is it sharing, you know, something that's going, like some great news that's going on about your business? You need to understand what your clients, your consumers really loving about what you guys are doing.
Right, we are going to go into each one of those points. We both realise we talk quite fast and there's quite a lot of information. So we're going to go into each of those points in a bit more detail now. And as Sunny said, we're also sending you takeaways at the end of the course. I'll send an email to Warren and he can distribute. And it will include takeaways such as a scheduling form and a brand guideline template and all sorts of things that we're talking about here. So you should be able to implement some of the things we talked about today after the course. So this is like going back into social media strategy. So some of this we'll have covered already, but we're just going to sort of go through it step by step. So this is what should be included in your strategy.
So these are the points. So you've got your objectives, your target audience, your brand messages, your content, your schedule, how to engage, and your evaluation.
And if you want any more information on any of those, just ask some questions to Warren at the end.
So your brand guidelines, we've touched on this already. So your brand guidelines is very similar to what you'd have for our website guidelines or your business brand guidelines. But actually for social media, it is different because each channel you may have a different tone of voice depending on who you're trying to reach. So for example, at Sunnybird PR, our Instagram is a bit more friendly because actually we're trying to reach potential candidates, potential employees, whereas our Facebook page and our Twitter page might be much more informative, and our LinkedIn page. Generally, we're quite a friendly bunch, so actually that language should come across on all our platforms. But we definitely work with clients who have a very different tone of voice for their different platforms, dependent on their objectives.
Yeah, it's silly things like on Instagram, emojis. And on Facebook, to a certain extent, emojis work really, really well and actually improve the reach of your posts. But they look a little bit daft on LinkedIn posts, you know, as many. So Instagram, I don't think you could ever have too many emojis. But in a LinkedIn post, I'd max go one, just because it's not really the right environment for it, or, you know, it has to be the right context. But with Instagram and Facebook, it definitely enhances the performance of a post. So you should be putting in even down to that detail. You know, if I'm using an emoji, you know, will I always use the same one so people recognize that it's me? Will I use different ones depending on the topic that I'm writing about? I know it sounds like maybe it's too small a detail, but it all works together to present a brand of who you are. And when people see that thing, they go, oh, yeah, it's them. I recognize it.
The other thing is having your customer service guidelines. Like, how do you want to address your audience? How do you want to speak to them? What are your rules within the business? That also needs to come across on your social media. Do you get back to people within 24 hours, 12 hours, 4 hours? These are really important guidelines that you need to have in your brand guidelines. Image guidelines,
Caption guidelines, and color palette, they're all kind of quite similar. So just using us as an example, because I haven't met any of you, unfortunately, we are very bright and vibrant. So if you go onto our Instagram grid, you'll immediately see that all the colours on there are all quite similar, and they're all really bright. We don't have any autumnal colours on our grid. That doesn't exist within the Sunnybird PR brand palette, so it doesn't exist on our Instagram. Caption guidelines, you know, we've got some sort of language that we do use and some that we don't. And hashtags, we have a set bank of hashtags that are ours, so we always do a hashtag SBPR, and if we're doing one of our courses, it'll be hashtag reaching millions. And so we've got our own one specific for our brand, but then you've got to think about the other ones that are pertinent to your industry. So we'll use PR ones or social media ones, or whatever it is that we're talking about. And you've got to think really carefully about what type of hashtags you're going to use. And we were working recently with an aesthetic clinic, and they weren't using the hashtags for their procedures. Botox Bournemouth, facial Bournemouth, they weren't using it like with the locations of people who were looking for those things via Instagram, couldn't find them. And this company did some amazing procedures that weren't available down here. You'd have to go to London to do them, but no one could find them by just searching them via the social media. So it's really important to think about, what would your clients be searching for if they're looking for you, and think about the hashtags for that. It might be that you yourself don't use Instagram like that, but actually the search bar is very much like a Google search bar. So you just hashtag whatever it is you're looking for and you'll find it. You know, like if you're really into Siberian kittens, can't think of anyone like that, then you can just type in that and you can get your cat fix for the day. And that's what other people do. That's what your consumers are doing. That's what your audience are doing. So tap into whatever you think they'll be searching for and make it, you know, link into what you're posting. So you can do some really in-depth research here into your competitors, their hashtags, who's following them, and get a feel for what your post should be containing if you haven't gone that far already. Algorithms we touched on earlier, but basically just research them. It sounds scary and it's just not. I think the nicest example of understanding it is saying, you know, Facebook, and it changes that so often, you know, it wants 30-second videos, the next minute you look, it wants 60-second videos. So that's, you know, a really simple example of what an algorithm is. So just research it, Google it, try and find the most recent articles. So just Google Facebook algorithms October 2020 and try and find the most recent ones, maybe read 3 or 4 to see if there's like a concurrent kind of message or theme, and then split test it. So try it out on your own platform. So do a 30-second video and a 60-second video and see which one performs better. Then you'll know if that algorithm is right or does work on you. We often split test lots of the algorithms, because just because it works for one person or a company saying, like, I've used this algorithm, it works for me, it doesn't mean it will work for you. So before we launched our Reaching Millions courses, we did images with my face on, and images which were words, and images of the team, and images of the courses. And the algorithms said, the ones that we were researching at the time, actually someone's face, a member of staff's face, or someone who's higher up in your business's face within your image on your social media posts will perform better than just written posts. And it did, it really worked. Almost like 50% increase worked. So it's really important just to test these things and see if they work for you. We've also tested other algorithms.
that haven't worked for us. So we just keep doing what works for you. But it's a great way to pick up tips just by sharing it, just by researching the algorithms.
And it's amazing what you find out. Interestingly, we talking about the face thing and looking at you from a post. We have a client in Bali, a yoga sanctuary. And we've had quite a few celebrities stay there, and we get a lot of photographs from the celebrities, and we tested it. We had one of the celebrity looking into the camera and another one looking away, and the one that looked into the camera far exceeded reach compared to the one where she was looking away. So it's really interesting, the little things that you learn when you do start delving into your analytics. It can be quite fascinating. Don't get too lost, because you need some of that time to spend on actually putting it into action.
Content. So there are lots of different ways to create content, and now we have mobile phones which are just like mini computers in our hands. There's actually no reason why your content, that your team can't make great content, and these are just some of the different things that you can use to make your content more appealing.
I was just going to say, I'm a massive fan of Canva. If you haven't come across Canva already, it's really great for making any kind of graphic-y type thing you might want to use on social media anyway. We use it specifically for like Instagram posts and things like that. And also really good resources, Pixabay and Pexels for free stock imagery. So if you know, a picture really does say 1,000 words, and it makes your post perform a lot better. If you haven't got a suitable photo, find one that's suitable to go with it, because it really will make a big difference. And you know, some of these apps, you know, might not be suitable for you if you're a more serious business, you know, like Boomerang, for example, or GIFs. But if it does work, then go for it, because anything that livens up the social media feed and makes your post stand out enough for someone to actually read what you've written, then it's worth doing. It's worth, you know, going the extra mile. And it doesn't have to be so time consuming. Yeah,
we'll send you also a link to all the different apps that we use here, so you can have a play around, and it just will take you to have a play to understand how to use them, how they can work for your business, and we'll give you our top 5 to 10 apps that we use, so it would be really helpful.
This is just an example of a schedule. Again, we'll send it in the takeaway pack afterwards, but just wanted to demonstrate, we literally do ours on Excel. There's nothing fancy about it. Just the month, the week, the day, what's the objective of the post, what's the brand message of the post. So we tend to go down a few routes. We're either trying to educate. We're big advocates of being knowledge sharers. We think there's a really nice space for that on social media. Well, pretty much what we're doing now, actually. Yeah. But sharing knowledge is a really nice thing to do with your local kind of business community, or not even local, but your business community. People like helping others. People like being helped. It's, you know, it's a nice feel-good kind of thing to do. You can replicate that on your social media really easily. So we do a lot of knowledge sharing tips and messages and posts and stuff on social media. We also, we have to make it quite entertaining, because, you know, we're a fun PR brand. How else are we going to get the young, funny people to come and work with us than putting out this lovely image of how fun we are? Also, you know, it is 100% for new business as well. That's, of course, why we're on social media. In fact, when we started treating ourselves seriously as a client, probably about 4 years ago now, when it comes to social media, we instantly saw a huge increase in new business. As a direct result of investing time in our social media, our own social media. So this is why we know it works. This is why we're so rigid about it. Yeah. This is why we're goal driven and KPI driven and have these challenges every year.
Yeah. When we launched 7 years ago, I believe that we've become, you know, my background is national PR, but we launched in Bournemouth, and actually our first clients were actually international clients. We had a client in Bali, we had a client in Australia, we had a client in New Zealand. And then we picked up clients in London, but no one in Bournemouth knew who we were or what we were doing. And then as soon as we sat down as a team, we said that was our key objective on our social media, to reach out to more local Dorset clients, because we've got some amazing brands down here. Within the space of 3 months, we'd won 17 local business brands. And that was just by shifting what we were doing on social media to make it more regional focused, and to let people know what we're doing and the results that we're getting for these amazing brands that we worked on. And that's why we're massive advocates of social media, and we like to teach social media. But these schedules are also so important. Like, so when we work for our clients, we generally do around about 1 to 2 weeks scheduling of social media in advance. not scheduling the actual post, but actually putting together a schedule of what we're going to do, so that we can work with our clients' objectives, what sales objectives they've got coming up, have they got any events on, have they got a recruitment drive going on, what things are they pushing that month, is there something they're celebrating. So it's really important, if you can do, to try and schedule what you're going to do over a 2-week period, just so you can like keep it in line with your business objectives.
There's also a really good website, if you don't know already, which is Awareness Days. And, you know, there's an awareness day for everything, like National Donut Day, National Speak Like a Pirate Day. But you'll always find something that's good or useful, pertinent to you and your business, your industry. So we use a lot of calendar hooks like that, especially on social media and even in PR as well, if they're, you know, if they're strong enough. But like, yeah, like yesterday was National Apple Day, believe it or not. And we've got like a community growing social media page that we look after. So we posted about apples and pegged it on it being National Apple Day. So simple things like that.
Okay, so this is key. Like, if there's any one thing that you listen and take away, this is the thing we'd like you to take away, is creating genuinely engaging content and how you're going to do that. So the first thing you need to do is you need to aim to build this community with your followers, and they're only going to feel a part of your community if they feel a part of what you're doing. If you're reaching out to them and discussing ideas, you're discussing what your business is doing, you're sharing knowledge, as we discussed earlier, but it needs to appear genuine.
I really like it when you ask for people's opinion. It's a really nice way of getting them to invest in your brand. They feel like they're a part of your story then. We've done it with the Perfect Dress Company quite a lot, and got the online community to really engage and give feedback on the brand as it's been developing, like in its first year or so. And it's been really nice, because then those people that have invested that time to give their feedback, they are like the best online ambassadors that we could ever have. And that's what you do when you get people involved. I'm sure you're all connected with a brand online that you love. You know, I love those people. I love what they do. And then you go around and tell everyone about how much you love this other brand. You're like the best advertising ever. And that's what you want your community to do. And you can do that by building a genuine community, by opening up organic conversations and actually talking to people rather than just posting. Prioritizing video content, they really do perform better than photos. You know, you don't want to make every post a video, but make sure, let's say, do one a week.
So if you're not doing video, that's really important. And I know it's really daunting, because I can't bear being on videos. It's really daunting, but maybe there's someone in your organization who is better in front of the video, and it doesn't have to be really super polished. Social media isn't like that nowadays. It's a platform where people are communicating and being genuine, so therefore your content should look genuine. So you can literally just record yourself or your team via a phone. You don't have to have like a whole studio set up, but video is really, really important.
One of the things we did actually for the Sunnybird PR social media recently was like interviewing the team members and like meet the team segments. So then that's your, you know, depending on how big your team is, but that's a social media post a week kind of lined up for a few weeks there. And it gives a nice, you know, kind of feel, and people get to meet the team and get to connect with the audience and see some different faces, because you can, I've noticed this with us and with other brands, and, you know, be stuck seeing the same people on social media. And so it's nice to mix it up a bit, isn't it? Like whoever we've got in charge of Facebook or whatever, or whoever loves doing it in our office, you'll just see them on our social media all the time. And like, can we actually have someone different on our social media, please? So it's, you know, it's not just, you know, Laura that works here. But it's a nice thing to do to get your team involved. I think it really adds that human element and allows you to have a relationship with a brand.
And don't worry about the lives, because obviously live is video content. You can to get yourself used to the lives, pre-record what you're doing so that you can see and feel happy and content with what you're posting before you move on to the lives. But lives are a great way of, again, genuinely engaging with your audience. Ask them questions, ask them what they want to know. Is this something we can help you with? You know, I think asking, engaging and just communicating is key here.
Absolutely. We've said utilize evergreen content, and what we mean by that is all the hard work you put into making posts. You don't have to just, you know, never use them again. If they're not time sensitive, if they're not timely, if you can use them again and again, do. Obviously leave it a bit of time in between. But let's say, you know, once a month, you could probably roll it out again, especially if it's a fast moving platform. With Instagram, you probably don't want it repeated on your grid where you can see it. Like if you've done like 3 scrolls and you haven't seen it repeated, I think that's safe. With Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, it's a bit safer because they just are a lot faster moving. You don't have that static grid so much.
Yeah, so something you posted last Thursday, you post at a different time the following week, especially as you said on Twitter and LinkedIn, because they're such fast moving channels that you're not always going to see every single post that who you're following post. So definitely use that, what we call the evergreen content.
Yeah, we definitely use ours, and you know, we look at the posts that perform really well and just put them out again, and guess what, they perform really well again. So it's, you know, it's a really nice way of saving a bit of time, really, because social media can, if you're not careful, just suck you into a vortex where all your time disappears and that's all you do. But you know, we all have to do other things as well. So we try as best we can to streamline and make it as efficient as possible.
And then think about what your audience want to gain and what you're giving back to them. So we know that quite a lot of our audience want to learn about PR, they want to learn about social media. So we make sure that we offer tips for our social media content. If you're a lawyer, you might want to be talking about the latest news on divorce law. If you've got lots of divorced women following you, I don't know, but like try and figure out what they want from you, you know, especially with what's going on right now with COVID. You know, can you help a business? You know, is that what they're looking for? Can you support them? Like, I think the biggest question is asking your audience what they want to hear from you. Otherwise, it's a bit of a waste of time posting if you're not really analysing it or finding out what they want to know.
We did mention this already, and this works much better if we're interactive, but hey ho, in your heads, see if you can remember what figure this is for. Is it for how much of your time you should spend engaging on social media, or how much time you should spend posting on social media? Da, 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 da.
And the answer is it's engaging. You should be spending 80% of your time on social media engaging. And if you're not doing that, you need to really rethink your strategy.
Analytics. So if you don't know where your analytics are, go find them. They're all pretty self-explanatory. They're all in app or on desktop. Instagram is only on app on your phone. But yeah, they're all pretty easy to use. If you haven't used them before and they seem scary, they're not, excuse me, they're not scary. They just look scary. And once you break it down, you know, you've got to sort of cut through the noise. The important things you want to look at are reach. So that's how many people you've reached, and engagement. So how many people have engaged with you. So those are the important things across all of them. But this is what you should be checking once a month. So like after this course today, you should all go and check your analytics, see what figures you've got for reach for the last 30 days. And then in 30 days time, you want to have increased that by 25%. So that's your goal. And we'll tell you about another challenge that we're going to bring in next year later. So Sunny said at the beginning that we do this challenge every year, and we do every January, which can be a bit of a quiet month. December's usually mad busy with Christmas, so foot can come off the gas a little bit with social media. So we come back in January and we set the whole team a challenge. They've got to improve every single metric by 100%, reach, engagement, followers, everything. And the person that gets the best results, as Sunny said, wins a holiday. So what we're doing here is looking back at the results from this January so we can see the tips and results from the team.
So the lovely Annabelle, she did reach 100%, 120% on her reach, and she got 186% increase on her engagement. And these are just a few of the tips on how she did this.
She said that visual content stops, you need really strong visual content that stops people scrolling past you. Her good tip from her was using multiple images in one post, so you get that sort of gallery effect where you swipe across to see them. Ask questions in the comments.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, it's a really good tip, because it gets people talking amongst each other. So let's say you put a post up and someone says, oh, amazing. Let's say, I don't know, it's a cake recipe. And someone posts and says, oh, that looks great. I love that cake. Oh yeah, me too. Like, what's your second favorite cake? I don't know, whatever the question is. That's probably not the best
like
example.
Cakes and cats.
That's all I'm on to do. Cakes and cats, don't mix the two up.
But it shows that you're listening to them, and it shows that you're actually wanting their feedback, because they've made that effort to comment in your post. Ask them a question.
Yeah, try not to just like it, try and actually give them a bit more of your time, because they've made the effort to comment on yours. So like, make the effort to comment back, like, be polite. If someone was talking to you at a party, you wouldn't just turn around or just like wave. Like, try and make the effort to be nice back.
Annabelle found like posting light-hearted content at the weekend on Facebook really resulted in good reach and good engagement, because people want different things from you at the weekend. They don't necessarily want to hear how amazing your business is doing, or that you've won a new client, or that your team member, it's their birthday. They want to hear they want to hear more about what's going on in their life at the weekend, about the weather, about the location, about what the team are doing at the weekend. So make sure that your tone is set to what's going on date-wise, weekend-wise, day-wise.
So we often do things like nice pictures of the beach, or things like that if you're from Bournemouth way. I know it sounds like an obvious one, but it really does work. Run competitions with questions. So again, just getting people to engage. The competitions you see that are like this, share this, I don't think are that sort of well thought out. If you just try and make it a little bit more engaging, so people have actually got to think and actually engage their brain a bit, it seems not so obvious that you're just trying to do it to up followers. Being topical, so keeping an eye on the news and keeping Facebook relevant is a good place for that as well. So yeah, these are Annabelle's top tips and her fantastic results. And then moving on, we have Gracie.
Well, she got a reach of, she won, we didn't win, but she got her 100% goal. So her reach was 115% and her engagement was 157%. And this is just by these tips here. So you can see on this little chart above, and Annabelle said the same, like the metrics that they were following. So how many followers they got in December compared to January, the engagement, the likes, the reach, the impressions, the comments, the website clicks, profile visits, shares and saves. This is all the stuff that you can get from your own analytics.
So Grace's tips were: know when your audience are online. Sounds obvious, but it's really important. So check your analytics, see when they're online and post then. Follow local accounts, so you build up like a genuine, like a local hub. Really put some effort into making your content engaging and put some effort in the same into your captions. Use celebs and influencers if applicable to your brand.
Yeah.
Engage with everyone and anyone, and stories. Stories are growing 15 times faster than Instagram feed posts. They really are where the youth hang out. So if you're a brand that has like an audience of under 35s, then you should definitely be doing a story each day.
Yeah. And stories are meant to be stories. They aren't just about sharing the post that you've already posted on your feed. Stories are meant to be showing a story. So they're meant to be showing a beginning, a middle, and an end. So if you are going to post a story, think about what you're posting. Have you got an event at work? You're going to show the beginning of the event. You're going to show what's going on, and then what the results at the end of the event. What can you post that is an actual story? And then the lovely Josh, so he definitely achieved his 100%. He got 230% increase in impressions, and he got over 8,000 increase in new followers. And he did this on Twitter. And actually, the team, when they get given Twitter as their digital platform to do, they're like, "Oh my God, Twitter's so hard." Twitter is hard. It's quite time intensive. But once you understand what to do, you can actually do some amazing things on Twitter.
Yeah, with Twitter, TweetDeck is key. If you've got TweetDeck up and running, then you will save loads of time and you'll be able to smash it. And Josh absolutely loves Twitter. And his top tips are: tweet frequently. There is literally no limit. You can, if you want to, well, you know what Trump's like, you can post 1 million times a day. No one's gonna get see you too much, because it's such a busy platform.
And then this goes back to like looking at your analytics, posting, optimize your posting times, and make sure when you are posting, it's at the time when people are actually tweeting, your followers are actually on Twitter.
Twitter is not a naturally visual-led platform, and actually Josh found that putting visual content on there performed really well.
And quite a lot of times people don't use hashtags on Twitter either, but actually he found using hashtags actually really helped with his post engagement.
Similar to everyone else, engage with replies, retweets and tags. Create an inviting profile, use call to actions and discussion points to build engagement, and be reactive. That's key for Twitter, obviously, because it's so like current and topical. And
when we say be reactive, it's like knowing what's going on in the world, like reading the newspapers, seeing what everyone else is finding interesting, and then like making sure that you work that into your strategy.
And last but not least, we have the lovely Laura.
The lovely Laura. And she smashed LinkedIn. She had a follower increase of 126%, and her most viewed post was increased by 197%.
So the thing with LinkedIn is you've obviously got your company profile and you've got your personal profile. Yeah. We do have a Sunny Bird PR page, but we don't actually use it. The only thing we use it for is recruitment, and also so people can actually find us on LinkedIn. It's much easier to search for a business than it is for a person. Like the results are just fewer. So we actually use Sunny's personal LinkedIn profile as our LinkedIn platform. So there aren't analytics available because it's a profile one. So we do it a really high-tech way. We just go through Sunny's posts for the last month and see which ones had the most views. So we only base it on most viewed posts, second most viewed posts, and third most viewed posts. So it's not the most intelligent of analytics, but at this stage, it's all we can do. But it still demonstrates to us which posts are really well received, what the LinkedIn community are enjoying, watching and seeing and engaging with. And these are Laura's tips.
Ask for feedback and recommendations. That's really good on LinkedIn. People really want to share who works well with them, companies they've worked with before. So make sure that you're asking for feedback. Engage with other people's posts to encourage them to engage with yours. It is a bit of a, back scratching element there, but that's fine. Get involved. Share relatable content that's personal. Use images, videos of you and your team, and tagging other businesses. Like, this is key, and this actually works on all platforms, so not only on LinkedIn. If you've got an event or you're having an event, tag all the businesses that are coming to your event. Tag that in your post about after the event when you're talking about what a success it was, or if you're talking about a client, make sure you're tagging them in, but not just tagging the brands in, tagging the people that you work within. Like, this is really, really important. It's something that quite a lot of people don't do because it can be time intensive. Actually, it's worth the 10 minutes. It's worth the 10 minutes doing, because actually you'll see the reach of your post many more people, times 4, times 5 even. This is a really good tip. This is a solid gold tip that you should definitely do. Don't reply to all your comments at once. And now this, again, is the same across the board. So what any platform will do is they'll see a flurry of activity on a post and go, oh my God, everyone must really love this post. I'll bump it up in everyone's news feeds. So then it comes into other people's news feeds and they see it and then they comment. So by not replying to all your comments at once, you're spreading out and multiplying your flurries of activity. So your post will get boosted again when you reply to your next set of comments. Say you've got 10 comments, reply to 2 or 3 in the morning, reply to 2 or 3 in the afternoon, reply to 2 or 3 the next day, and just keep that, keep it bubbling away. It's like simmering almost. And that's not just on LinkedIn, that works on all of the channels. It works on Facebook, it works on Twitter, it works on Instagram, and the others. And so, you may or may not want to give a holiday, but we gave a holiday. So it's Josh that won this year, and he had a lovely holiday in Cyprus. Luckily, he managed to actually get out there just before lockdown. So happy ending there for Josh. And that is the end for us. So we'll pass you back to Warren, and we can answer any questions you might have. Thank you very much.
Perfect. I'm coming back. There we are. Right, let's see what questions we have. First of all, before I have a quick look for the questions, Sonny and Lizzie, thank you for such a insightful and really practical and energetic, which isn't easily done, is it, when you're just on a webinar looking at a camera, but really energetic, insightful, full of ideas and inspiration and content. So really, from me, on behalf of everybody involved, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
We miss seeing faces. We do. Like in our courses, we have like a sea of faces, and normally on screen we can see faces. So it's quite hard actually doing that without seeing everyone's faces.
Yeah, it is a bit weird, isn't it? I must admit, and things like that. So we haven't actually got any questions. Got a bit of chat going on, but no, not any specific questions. I would quite like to have a chat with you about repurposing. Questions are starting to come through actually, so great questions, please do start posting them. But before that goes on, repurposing of content, I mean, a lot of people talk about that, you hear about it. How easy is it to really do, cut and dicing pieces?
Yeah, absolutely. You make it, so we're talking about making it topical. So if there's something going on in the news that you can relate back to an old post that you've done, it might have been some tips about a new law, it might have been some, like we repurpose lots of posts and put a bit of a topical angle on them, a spin on it. So we talk about something that's currently going on in the news, and then we go back to those tips, and you're freshening it up a bit almost. And a lot of people have blogs where you've put so much hard graft into some really good blog posts. You put them up once, maybe you put them in a newsletter, and then you forget about them. And actually that content there is, in a lot of the cases, still relevant. So you absolutely repurpose that for social media posts, for anything. Although a tip to note is that the social media channels don't like you leaving them. So instead of sharing, unless you want them to go to your website and you want to, build up your web traffic, but if you just want to do the social media side of things, instead of linking them back to your website,
put the stuff on actually social media.
So cut and paste some of that content and put it in the post
Absolutely.
rather than linking it out.
Yeah, quite a lot of people will paste an article in the post they're about to post, but actually they shouldn't be doing that at all. So they might post an article to the Daily Mail, the Times, the Telegraph, and then they want to talk about it, but actually be much better off, as Lizzie said, doing a copy and paste of the article, or copying and paste some of the article and putting it in the post, because they want to keep you on their platform.
Yeah, so they bump you down the algorithm if you're taking them off Facebook. So for an example with coverage, like we often obviously share coverage that we get for our clients, we might take a photo, if it's a hard copy, of the paper, and then maybe have a bit of the comment in there, so sort of lead them in, so talk about a bit about the article and sort of, pique their interest. But yeah, there's lots of different things you can do, and people should really value the content that they've already got. We only have so many hours in the day, and we've already worked really hard. So let's, use some of the hard stuff we've done.
We do it for all our clients. Like, we will do a piece on back care for one of our healthcare clients, but we can then repurpose that when it's Back Care Awareness Month, or there's like so many Back Care Awareness weeks and days, but we can repurpose those things. So it's really good, like looking at those calendar hooks as well. So thinking about the content that you've already used maybe this year, looking at the calendar hooks and thinking, where can we reuse that content next year?
Yeah, some really good tips. I love that idea about thinking about something, a news story that breaks, and you've written a blog or content, and repurposing it then becomes really topical, doesn't it? So really relevant. So that's great. Right, so I'll go to the questions, Lizzie and Sunny. Christy asks, would you suggest using LinkedIn Live and LinkedIn Stories that has just launched? This is very topical.
Like we haven't. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. We definitely would, and just get comfortable with it. So that's the biggest part. Everyone they're fearful because it's the unknown. So just start using it and seeing how you get on, and analysing it, and getting other people to give you feedback.
But with any social media platform, whenever they bring out a new function, a new tool or whatever, they really want it to work. So if you use it, you'll be pushed right up to the top of that algorithm. So if you're an early adapter, you'll be rewarded by the channel for doing that. So whatever content you're using that new tool for will be seen by more eyeballs. So it's definitely worth getting involved and trying it. And if it's not for you, it's not for you, but definitely give it a go. So
it's definitely gaming the algorithms. If you get engaged with their new things, get that. I understand that. That's brilliant. Jeff asks, who should your Instagram page be following?
So you should be following, it depends what your objective is. So ours is recruitment for our Instagram, for instance. So our objective would be following other people who are doing either PR degrees, or people who are in other PR agencies, but people of that demographic, whereas our LinkedIn isn't about, it is a bit about recruitment, but it's more about new business drive. So we'll be looking at businesses who we've got experience in. So the sectors that we got experience in already, and we'll start following those type of businesses because we can really shout about like the amazing results that we get. So you really need to think of, before you start thinking about who should I follow, think about what's your objective first of the channel.
And also with Instagram, you've got to be really careful that your followers aren't less than your following, because otherwise it makes you look a bit needy, and it just doesn't look like anyone likes you. I know it sounds silly and schoolyardy, but it's true. So with who you're following, there's some really good apps. There's one called Follower or Followers. I've got it on my phone. But you can very quickly see who's following you and who's not following you back, and then you can followers. I'll send it in the email, but that's a really good one to check. But try not to follow people that aren't going to follow you back, like a massive, Kim Kardashian or whatever.
We do what we call culls, following culls. So when clients come to us to say, can you look after our social media? We'll actually go in and we'll unfollow loads of people that aren't relevant to them, because only 1% of people see your organic posts. So if you're posting things and actually all these followers are just cat mums, and actually you're an accountancy business, and like you don't want, you're not going to get your message out there. So actually it's not about, we're massive on the fact it's not about how many followers you have these days, it's the quality of the followers you have. So make sure the people that you're following are the type of people that you want to follow back. You want to follow you back.
Yeah, get it? That's good. That's brilliant answer and response. Tina asks, I tend to write as I speak, and so it was great to hear you saying about bring personality across in the posts. Tina runs a great bookkeeping firm, and she asks, how do you make bookkeeping posts interesting?
Oh, I think you could do
So,
loads of fun things
do
with
you know,
bookkeeping.
we find that the
The drier the industry, the more fun you can have.
because
Absolutely.
you've got to be really
Yeah,
creative.
yeah.
So like one of our clients is a snoring ring. It's
Oh,
snoring, you know,
yeah.
how many posts can you do about snoring? But we do, and actually we can be really creative and you get really fun about it. Another one of our clients is a wealth management client, and actually the team actually loved working on that account because actually the results that they were getting could really show through on this particular brand. So you can be fun, but like think about your personality, perhaps the people behind the brand.
Absolutely, yeah. I think with bookkeeping, you could do things like, I don't know, because it's like all maths, right? You could do like biggest maths fails or something like that, and just share some funny stories. Or I think because it is quite dry. Sorry, no offense. But I think you can have loads of fun with it.
But yeah, think about also what's going on in the news, like funny accountancy stories, or you know, things.
Or day in the life of. You could like, you know, this is what I'm doing. I'm having to count 50 receipts for, you know, pints of milk or whatever it is, you know, you're doing. Try and like, you know, or open the lid, lift the lid on what the life of a bookkeeper really is about. You know, I don't even have any books, you know, stuff like that.
And like top tips, like being knowledge sharers. I think that's really key. Like if you think you've got a bit of a dry business, think about how you can share your knowledge.
Especially with something like bookkeeping where everyone needs it. Like some kind of tip, like, oh, did you know there's some legislation changing and you need to do this now with your accounts or whatever.
It follows up on something I wrote a note down, and one of the things you said is really consider what your audience want to know. And really post your content that's engaging because they're looking at you because you are an accountant, bookkeeper, whatever it may be, to post the things that they want to know. I think it's a great tip.
We always say when we're in our courses that every person in the room is an expert. Everyone is an expert in what they do. So post your expertise, like talk about knowledge share. And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, so that is great. So we've got, I think, Debbie has asked, for me, Twitter became a poisonous place to hang out earlier this year, and as a result, I stopped using it. What do you think? Have you seen any positive or negative impact on Twitter engagement for your business clients?
Do you know, we haven't. I think we've been.
Twitter's, on my perspective anyway, Twitter's such a fast-moving place, and as the same with any social media platform, depending on who you follow, will dictate your experience of that platform. If you've ever gone onto someone else's Facebook, you'll see it looks and feels very different because it's being fed different content. You're being fed different, even if you've got the same friends. You know, I could get different content to, you know, Sunnywood from the same people because Facebook's telling me that I like cats, so it's sending me cat stuff, and it's telling Sunny she likes handbags. But, you know, the channel tells you it. And it's a bit the same with Twitter. You know, if you've had a bad experience on Twitter, and it might be that you're following some people that, you know, aren't being very nice. I'm a bit guilty of living in an echo chamber on my personal social media, and I'm surrounded by lovely, positive things. And then as soon as I step outside and I realise what the world's really like, I'm quite honestly shocked. So I've got the opposite. My social media is actually quite a safe space for me because I've got all my friends on there. I've made sure that, you know, there's no negativity on there, and I'm always reading positive news stories. So my little social media bubble is really positive. So I think you can make it what you want to make it.
I do get what she's saying, because when we launched the Perfect Dress Company, our unique selling point of our dresses is their slimming, and so we had quite a bit of backlash from body confidence ambassadors, should we call them, and celebrities who were, you know, at the forefront of body confidence, saying, you know, you shouldn't be designing dresses that make women look slimmer. And actually, you've got to remember who your audience is. Like, don't get me wrong, I took all their comments on board and I made sure I responded to every single one of them, and that's what I would definitely recommend to our clients. Obviously, let's make sure someone
but we ignored them.
Make sure someone looks over your post, and like make sure you think about it before you post and take a deep breath, but make sure it's an intelligent response. But it did make me think about some of the language we were using within our descriptions. But you know who your clients are, you know who you want to reach, and you're not going to be the be all to every single one. There's always going to be someone, like the school playground, who doesn't like you, who doesn't like what you're doing, but they're not the people you're trying to reach them. So just move on, but respond politely, respond firmly, and just move on. And by showing that, you're showing that you're intelligent, you're showing that actually you really believe in what you're doing, you really believe in the messages that you're putting out there. So I do get what you're saying, because we had it when we launched the Perfect Dress Company.
And also, just on another thing about avoiding negativity, don't get involved in quite obvious baited arguments.
Yeah.
I see this with my friends on social media. I've got a couple of friends that are quite fiery, and they're always getting into rows on Facebook. And I'm just like, guys, why are you even bothering? Like, why are you're answering to that?
However, we often do say to our clients, don't we?
Yeah.
We don't like them to sit on the fence, because we know that to get people talking about your brand, you need to really be strong in what you're saying, be strong in your beliefs, be strong in your points. So we'll often say to clients, if you can be a little controversial, can we be with your social media? But it has to be something they're obviously very strong on and they believe in and they're happy to back up. But we often encourage our clients to be a little controversial.
Brilliant. Yeah, and I'd agree with that. And you get some great engagement, don't you? If you, you know, it does drag you down, but haters are going to hate, and all of those kind of sayings and comments, which are so true. But sometimes it gives you that ability to have passion and belief, and show your passion and belief in your brand and what you represent and why you're doing what you're doing. But you've got to do it in the right professional and polite fashion. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Christy's got a follow-up question. Do you have to wait to be invited to use LinkedIn Live, or is it available to everyone?
So currently they're just inviting people, so they're testing. So you're currently being invited. So that's the last thing I heard. We've been invited to use it. We're using it, but I haven't seen them reach out to everyone yet. Brilliant.
Okay, I think that is all of our questions. Really engaging. So thank you everybody that has posted questions. Thank you for your engagement. As I said, as you finish your presentation, thank you for the energy and the passion. You're clearly really passionate, Sunnybird PR, about what you do and what you do for your clients, and that came across, and the knowledge shone through Lizzie and Sunny, so thank you.
We're going to be doing this group thing in January where we do this 100% campaign. It's because I'm a bit of a taskmaster with the team. So I'm like 100%, I want to see 100% improvement. But we're not going to do that with our clients and our followers, but we're going to be doing something where we're going to encourage you to increase your social media by 50%. So we'll let you know, we'll send out an email to everyone if you want to be a part of it, and really improve your social media.
Yeah. Brilliant, fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. I'm engaged with that. And as you say, you'll send through to us, through to Amy, through to me, some follow-up information. We'll send it out to everybody that's on the webinar and follow up, so that they can get some of those great ideas and schedules and something to work towards for your challenge in January. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.